1 year ago, almost 1 year to the day, I shared a series of videos talking about the areas of my life that I was going to be focusing on over the course of the next year. Well, today I'm going to share exactly how my life has changed over the past year. And it feels almost like an exaggeration to say this, but I really do feel that my life is almost unrecognizable, that I have changed my life so dramatically over the course of the past year that it's just incredible. So let's talk about exactly what happened. Now, if you want to go back and watch the videos to where I share the different areas of focus and why I was focusing on those different areas and how I was planning on achieving the changes that I wanted to achieve in those areas of my life, I will link to those videos in the description box and up above in the cards. But I'll also just share the 5 areas right here, right now. So, one was how I managed my time. So, I wanted to have a clear and spacious calendar and be able to make time for the things that mattered to me. Two was making my health a priority. And this, again, was a very sort of broad, not at all smart goal, but just that I wanted to start prioritizing my health and looking at very simple ways that I could start improving my health so that my health could get better and better over time as I'm getting older, right? Next was fun and hobbies. So I wanted to start having more fun and actually having other hobbies. And then I had relationships and connections. So I wanted to grow that area of my life. I wanted to make friends. I wanted to deepen my relationship and connection with my family. And then lastly, joyful business growth. So I want to tackle these in the order of the ones that have had the biggest impact, that have been the most life-changing, that have changed the most over the past year, and then down to the least. Starting with fun and hobbies. So last year, I decided I wanted to try out different hobbies. And I did actually pick up 3 new hobbies. So I learned how to play the cello. I learned how to garden and built a raised bed garden in our backyard and actually grew fruits and vegetables for the first time in my life. And I also picked up tennis. And what is incredible about all 3 of these things is that they are all things that, well, let me take it back. One of them was something that I've always wanted to do, which is learn how to play an instrument, and I've never had the opportunity to do. And then the other 2 were things that I had always told myself that I was bad at or that I wasn't actually interested in. So I've never been able to keep plants alive. I really consider myself to be like a plant killer, but I loved the idea of growing our own vegetables, of having a garden in our backyard because we actually have a pretty big backyard now. It's half an acre, so plenty of space for a vegetable garden. And so I just decided, well, let's just give it a shot. Let's see if I'll actually like it. And it's also something that Joseph was interested in doing. So it was like 2 birds, 1 stone. So I could spend time, quality time with Joseph, and also try out this gardening thing. Now, in case you're wondering about these plants that are behind me, 2 of them are actually fake. The two over here, these are 2 fake plants. It's the only reason I've been able to keep them alive. This one I just got this weekend. And so we're going to see how things go for this bad boy over here. I'm feeling very bold now that I learned how to vegetable garden over the course of the past year. But in order to do the vegetable garden, in order to learn how to play tennis and to play tennis, I had to challenge my views about what I liked, right? Because I had told myself, well, I didn't like vegetable gardening. I had to challenge what I thought that I would be good at. So I told myself for years that I was bad at taking care of plants, that I just can't. I can keep humans alive, I can keep children alive, but I cannot keep plants alive. And also for years, I told myself I was bad at tennis because Joseph and I played together once 13 years ago and I could not get the hang of it. And so I just said, well, I guess tennis is not for me, to the point where even over the course of all these years, sometimes Joseph would go and take the kids to the tennis courts and they would hit around just for fun. And I would never come because I would tell myself, or say to them, what's the point in me going considering that I can't hit the ball at all. And so I committed to learning how to play tennis. And I learned how to play tennis. And it actually turns out that I'm really, really good at tennis, to the point where Joseph and I were able to enter into a tournament in the fall, just 6 months after I had started playing tennis. And we were able to win the tournament. So picking up these hobbies really transformed how I think about myself. And it also transformed our lives in many ways. Because we picked up tennis, we actually made a whole bunch of new friends. We have this whole community that we are a part of now in a way that I've never been a part of my community in my entire adult life since leaving law school, right? When there's a whole bunch of you all together around the same age in the same life stage, going through the same things, you bond, right, in college and in graduate school in a way that's harder to do as an adult, and especially once you have kids. And now we are a part of a community. We actually have friends. We go out with them on the weekends, weekdays. We've even gone on vacations with friends. And that is a massive shift in our lives in just 1 year, to go from largely being homebodies, just hanging out with each other, to now having this wide range of friendships and text chains that we're on that are kind of hard to keep up with now, that makes our lives so full. So obviously I've switched over into the relationships and friendships piece, but there's just so much synergy between the hobbies that I picked up and then this friendship and relationships piece. Like, really, if we had not picked up tennis, I don't know that it would have been as easy for us to make friends as it has been. And I didn't pick up tennis thinking that I was going to make a whole bunch of friends. I just thought I was going to learn how to play tennis and the family would learn how to play tennis. And you know what? I take that back. I did hope that we would make friends because we joined a club. We joined a tennis club, and in part because they said they had social. So I thought that this was a way that I would be able to meet some people that were around my age. So I did have an inkling, and it's important for me to remember that. I had almost forgotten it for a second. But those two were so interconnected. And so the lesson that I learned here is that sometimes, when we set goals in one area of our lives, it can actually also enhance and complement goals that we have in other areas of our lives. Because learning how to play tennis helped us also build these friendships. But here's another thing that learning how to play tennis helped me do. And this is on the health front, right? Because remember, one of my areas of focus was improving my health. Now, for years, decades, really my whole life, I've always felt like I was too tired at the end of the day to work out. Not just when I was an employee with a crazy long commute, but even all these years of being a full-time entrepreneur. So I've been working in my own business full-time for 5 years now. So even working at home, working for myself for years, I've told myself that at the end of the day, I was too tired to work out and too tired to do, anything hard. I just didn't have the energy. And now that is completely different because I love playing tennis so much. There are times where matches are scheduled for 6 p.m. or even as late as 8 p.m. and they may not be near us. We might be driving 30 minutes or more to get to a match. So that means, and the match is not finishing till 10 p.m. So I am playing tennis from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night. And this isn't just like easy, we're just going to block the ball back tennis. Like, no, I am doing hard work. Like, check out my Fitbit right here. You can see how high my heart rate goes, how long I'm in the cardio zone, and even like the highest peak possible zone for my heart, according to my heart rate monitor. So here I am busting my butt at 8 p.m. happily. I love it. And so do you know what that has done for me? It's made me realize that this I'm too tired story was just a story because I could find the energy for something that I was excited to do. if I love it, I'll get up and do it. And so not only do I now get up and go play tennis, but now I know that at 8 p.m., I'm actually not too tired to do whatever it is, whether it's folding some laundry or putting away dishes. If I don't do those things, it's because I've decided, well, I'm not going to prioritize that right now. I want to actually sit and watch a show with Joseph and the kids, and I can do the dishes later. But I don't tell myself that I'm too tired anymore. And now, if I am feeling really uncharacteristically tired, I pay attention to that. I realize that the I'm too tired piece, I'm doing something wrong. Am I staying up too late? Am I not hydrating properly? Am I not feeding myself properly? Am I not giving myself enough downtime during the day to make sure that I have the energy that I need to sustain myself throughout the day? So, for example, after I'm done shooting this video, I am going to take a nap. That's one of the things I'm working on building into my schedule to manage my energy levels better. And I'm also going to be playing tennis tonight. So it's amazing, again, the ripple effect that picking up that one hobby has had on my life and also on the way that I think, right? The thoughts that I allow myself to think, the beliefs that I have about what is possible for me on a day-to-day basis, what I'm able to accomplish, and at what time. Now, having said that, I have not made it all the way over to where it's 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. and I will go upstairs to our tonal and work out. I have not crossed that hurdle yet, but that is a place where I want to be eventually. If I am willing to go out and play tennis for 2 hours at 7 p.m., in my mind, I should be equally willing to just walk upstairs to our tonal and do a 25-30 minute workout while I'm watching TV in our media room. So that's going to be something that I am working on going forward over the course of the next year. So I've already talked about how our relationships and social circles have grown over the past year and how amazing it's been to have friendships. And I will say it's not just my friendships that have gotten better over the course of this past year, but also my relationship with Joseph and the kids. Now, at the beginning of the year, so last April, I would say Joseph and the kids and I, we have an amazing relationship. We have an incredible family, but I'm always working to be a better and the best version of me that I can be for them, right? So how can I appreciate them more? How can I make sure that I'm showing up for them the way that they need me to show up for them? And that is also requiring some unlearning on my own part of who I used to be as I continue to become a better and better person. So, for example, Reeves and I took Reeves to a birthday party this past weekend, and it was at a bounce house. And so he came to me and he said that someone, like, he basically was in the dodgeball pit, and after some back and forth, a kid hit him in the face with the ball. And in that moment, the very first thing that I said to him, like, I think I said, oh, well, he shouldn't have done that. Did you tell someone about that? And he said, no. And then I said, well, next time, make sure that you tell someone about that, because that way, because the place has a rule, no face shots. So if you tell a staff person right away, then they can do something about it. So then he says, okay. And then he goes walking off. And then I realized, like, I was just thinking to myself, you know what? Did I handle that the best way? Did I really stop to acknowledge just how wronged he was, right? Like, how would I have wanted to be treated in that moment? And I felt a little guilty because I went quickly to problem solving instead of staying in that moment with him, validating how he was feeling, allowing him to be frustrated and upset that that happened to him, and not going straight into the solving. And, and what I did wasn't bad, but I think the more that I thought about it, there was a different way that I would have liked to show up in that moment. So then the next time he came over to me, I apologized to him. I said, Reeves, I'm sorry. You came over here, you told me this thing, and I really did not acknowledge how that must have made you feel and give you a moment to just talk about how that made you feel and allow you to be upset about it and to let you know for sure in no uncertain terms that what happened to you was not okay. That should have never happened. And I'm sorry for that. And that was a great bonding moment for me and Reeves. And I think about moments like that as not just showing up for him in the way that I want to right now, but also showing up for him in a way that when he is an adult, I want him to look back and to see that I treated him as a whole person and that I really, really cared about him and his feelings and what he needed versus being the kind of parent, which the kind of parents that I had, which were children are expected to act in a certain way and conform to adult expectations. So that is something that I value. It's something that I'm working on. And so even though, again, I have a great relationship with Joseph, or had a great relationship with Joseph and the kids before the past year, it has gotten better every year. And so the lesson here is just because something is already good doesn't mean that there isn't always room for improvement. And I'm not saying that we need to constantly strive to optimize and make our lives better and try to be better and nothing is good enough. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying and what I've always thought is that every day of our lives, we're expending energy. Things are happening. We're making decisions. We're showing up in specific ways. So why not get better at those things? We're doing them anyway. It doesn't take that much more effort to get a little bit better, but that little bit better, moving towards becoming the person that we really want to be, that can make a huge difference in our lives over time. It can make a huge difference in our loved ones' lives over time. So my relationship with Joseph and the kids continues to improve. And I think, and as far as I'm concerned, will continue to improve until I'm gone, right? Until it's my end, it's the end of my days, because that is something that I value so much that I want to continue to work on. And I do think that it's something that we will all have to work on forever because habit slippage is real. I think it's very easy to start to, let's say, take our loved ones for granted. Take the things that they do for us for granted. Forget to hug and kiss and say, I love you, I miss you, you're special. Thank you for being in my life. It's so easy to take it for granted, especially as the years go by. And I never want that, which is why it's always going to be something that I continue to improve. And I love looking back on the past year and really seeing the person that I've become. Because yes, a year can make a huge difference. I don't think a year ago that I would have really noticed that I showed up for Reeves or that there was room for improvement in how I was showing up for Reeves in that moment. And certainly not 10 years ago. And it's because I'm continually learning about parenting, about relationships. And so then that is what allows me to continue to grow. So now let's talk about the other two areas where I feel like there have been improvements, but not as drastic as the first three, which is managing my time and building a joyful business. Now, when it comes to managing my time, what I did last year was I went on a sabbatical. So I took everything off of my calendar except for 2 to 3 hours of work because I had private one-on-one business coaching clients that I would coach almost every week, and then coaching calls inside of Wealth Builder Society. So I continued to do those. But aside from that, I didn't do any work. No social media, no email, none of that. I was just off. So I had an amazingly spacious calendar. And so the work that I had to do was to just allow myself to be present and enjoy my life. And that was really hard work. And you can check out the video that I just did on Friday where I talked about lessons learned from my sabbatical and the challenges of coming back off of sabbatical. And so the time part, the joyful business part, those are still works in progress, but I still feel like I have made so much progress over the past year by allowing myself to just pause, to sit back and think about, well, what is it that I really want? To reconnect with my own inner compass, with my own voice, to allow me to choose my values on purpose, to redefine what business looks like for me going forward, what my work looks like for me going forward. And too often we don't give ourselves the space to do that, to ask ourselves what we really want. And beyond just asking ourselves what we really want, allowing ourselves to almost create our lives from scratch, which is what I did when I made the decision to go on the sabbatical. And when I came back from sabbatical, I didn't just hop back into business as usual. I instead really sat down and thought about, well, what do I want business to look like going forward? And I don't have a full and complete answer for that right now. I am figuring it out as I go along, because one of the lessons that I learned as I worked on taking that time to create a spacious calendar, and as I worked on figuring out how to have a joyful business, is that I lost my train of thought, but I really don't want to edit this video. Okay, let me see if I can just regain my train of thought, because I don't want to edit this. This is supposed to be light and easy and just go straight up there. Okay, this is it. Where I was going with that was that the answers don't necessarily come to you when you're sitting back and asking yourself the question. Sometimes, and frequently, I think, in order to make a decision for sure, right? You've got your preliminary decision, like this is the direction that I think I want to head. But in order to really know if a decision is going to feel good, is to do the thing. And so I'm at the stage of figuring out where I want my life to go, what I want my life to look like, by trying things on, by trying things out and figuring it out as I go along, which is a really strange place to be again. I feel like I was here probably almost 20 years ago when I was first deciding to go to college and figuring out what my major was going to be and figuring out what kind of law I wanted to practice. That's happening again for me right now. And a lot of it was trial and error. I had to try out different majors, take different classes in college to figure out what I really enjoy doing. I had to try out different types of law practice to figure out which areas of law I actually enjoyed practicing in, because things sound great theoretically on paper, but it's only when you're actually living the experience do you know for sure if that thing is a right fit. So that is how my life has changed over the course of the past year. And just the fact that I lost my train of thought, I'm going to leave it in this video, I'm going to let it roll, that shows how different life is for me, how different I am, how different my approach to how I'm showing up is now versus a year ago. Now, I'm not saying that these uncut, unedited, off-the-cuff videos are things that I'm going to keep doing for sure 100% going forward, especially when I'm spending a lot of time trying to teach very specific concepts, especially on the personal finance side. I get very detailed and very particular about how I present the information in those things. So I don't know that I will definitely do off-the-cuff things like this all the time, but for right now, this is how I've decided I want to show up, to challenge myself to continue to grow in a different way. And all of that is just a sign of how much I have changed over the course of the past year. So I hope that this is helpful to you in looking at what the process of changing your life, of reinvention, actually looks like. And especially being able to go back to those older videos, look at what I was saying I was going to do, look at what I actually did do, look at where I am right now. And there are a lot of things that changed rapidly, right? Like the explosion of friends and activity. I lost 20 pounds from playing so much tennis. All of that happened very quickly, quote unquote, because it took a year for this stuff to change. But then there's other stuff that's happening very slowly. That's going to be years of a work in progress to achieve the goal that I ultimately want to achieve. And some of it I'm still figuring out right now. So I'm going to be doing a companion video to this where I talk about how I'm changing my life going forward, because I think it's really fun to set these intentions for our lives and to see the progress that we can make over the course of this year. And I'm also going to be sharing the process that I used to change my life and to set the intentions for how I wanted to change my life, because I love the fact that the way that I did it was very easy. There were no smart goals. They weren't like specific and measurable and any of that. I don't think that you need to do that to make massive change in your life over a short period of time. And lastly, I really love sharing this because I'm not someone that's in my 20s just starting to figure life out. I'm in my 40s, well established, with kids and like a whole life and a house, and I still am reinventing myself. And so it's just proof that you can reinvent yourself at any age, no matter what is going on in your life. So, all right, share your comments and thoughts with me down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.